And to discuss the impact of Turkish drones in Ukraine, I'm joined from Ankara by Merve Seren. She is an associate professor of international relations at Yildirim Beyazit University. And from London, David Hambling. He is a journalist, author who has written extensively on drone technology. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Merve, a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers have asked President Biden to send more arms to Ukraine in its fight against Russia. It was notable that the letter emphasized that Turkish combat drones, 1 year ago, it would have been hard to imagine this. What could you tell us about the changing attitude in U.S. politics towards Turkey when it comes to defensive equipment like drones?
Well, actually, it shouldn't be surprising. But the thing is that I think the geography changed because, the Turkish-made drones, they showed their performance actually. Even they changed the trajectory of the conflict in Libya in 2019, in 2022 in Nagorno-Karabakh, and then also in Turkey, in Syria, in so many places. So when it comes to Ukraine, the people are thinking that it's the first time that Turkish drones are revealing its features and performance, but I think they have to look in the history because these platforms have been combat proven for the last 10 years.
So if you will, I just want to read a part of the letter specifically referred to the Turkish drone. In it, the letter says, providing Ukraine more advanced UAS capable of longer ranges, for example, the Bayraktar TB2, will allow them to better disrupt Russian supply lines and counter Russian siege tactics, especially in eastern Ukraine. So, David, what does this tell us about the effectiveness of these drones, and why have U.S. Lawmakers specifically made reference to the Bayraktar TB2s instead of U.S. or Israeli manufactured ones?
One of the important things about the Bayraktar TB2 is that it's currently in use in Ukraine. It's a system that Ukrainians are using very effectively, as we've seen from many videos of strikes that have been carried out. So unlike other drone systems, like, for example, the American-made Reaper, it's one that the Ukrainians can use immediately. So if more Bayraktar TB2s can be supplied, they could immediately contribute towards the war effort, whereas anything else would take quite a considerable amount of logistics and organization and training before it could even be used.
So, how will this request you think, by U.S. lawmakers will play out? Will it lead Biden to talk to the Turkish president or to form other channels of communication to get more Turkish drones to Ukraine?
I think the situation is complicated at the moment by the fact that Turkey is not officially supplying arms to Ukraine. The Russians, in fact, recently complained about the use of Turkish drones by Ukraine. And the Turkish government explained that all of these were sold by a private company and that the transfer took place before the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So Turkey is playing a bit of a balancing act and not supplying weapons to Ukraine openly.
So, Merve, could the US buy these drones from Turkiye and then give them to Ukraine?
Well, the thing is that that it's not like with the United States for military sales. As David mentioned, it's about like the private sector. So it is. I think the thing is that when it is like from state to state, I think it will change the Turkey's attitude towards this balancing of power between the Russia and Ukraine. But on the other hand, it's a private sector, so I think it's not the state is not just trying to involve into this issue anymore. But then another thing that I would like to mention that as you said about this, Ukraine. I think it's very important that re-evaluating the advantages, opportunities, and benefits of this Turkish drone system. But at the same time, as David mentioned again, it's all about the logistics. So I think the United States and other NATO allies, the European allies, also realize Turkey's geopolitical and geostrategic position. So the value of keeping Turkey as a valuable NATO ally is on the one side, but also they understand it's just not all about this drone technology. But also they realized that they started to perceive Turkey as an integral part of the European security architecture. So I think one of the most important debates is about the drone technology, but besides this, it's about how Turkey can contribute to this European security architecture. So I think it's all about this complementary, or maybe I think we need to make a more complementary and holistic approach, holistic analysis of this drone technology and the changing of this modern warfare.
But you said Turkish drones have been out in markets since like last 10 years. So have they have these countries just realized Turkey's geopolitical importance? What's that sudden change?
You know, the thing is that, I mean, first of all, the thing is that when you are using these combat-proven systems, so it is much more, attracting the other countries to acquire the system. So the things that there are so many advantages that Turkey is, providing for these countries to sell its drones. It's not just about technology, but it's also about the combat-proven system. It's about the money. It's about the sailing system. So when you are buying a drone from United States or from Israel, the bureaucratic, the process is much more, difficult for countries to acquire it. So this was the reason that I was just telling that this private sector, when the state is not involving, when it's not from state to state, but it's about the private sector.
Yes.
So I think it's more important, it's more easier for the private companies to sell their products. So, and another thing is that it was the first time that Turkey is with this Turkish made drones are in Europe. But before that, they were in Libya, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and in Syria, within the Turkey. But it's now, I think, because we have got, a huge information flow, a huge data about how these Turkish TB2s, these Ukrainian TB2s are, destructing the defense systems, howitzers, tankers, and trucks. I think they just became a symbol of Ukrainian resistance as well.
So, David, would you agree with Merve? Once these Turkish-made drones were considered by the West as a destabilizing force in regions like the South Caucasus, Central Asia, Syria, Libya, and even Ethiopia, how has that perception changed with the latest Ukrainian crisis?
I think the important thing with the Ukrainian crisis is shown that the Bayraktar TB2s are effective in what they call a near-peer conflict. So that's a conflict with people who are at the very highest levels of capability, particularly the Russians. I think that calculus will considerably raise the esteem by which the Bayraktar TB2 is held and Turkey's drone industry in general.
So, Merve, Turkey has long called for sanctions imposed by NATO countries on its defense sector to be lifted. Could this letter be the first step towards lifting those sanctions, whether it's Canada's sanctions on drone technology to Turkiye or over F-35 fighter jets, or it's a totally different subject?
Yeah, the thing is that I mean, the other NATO members they are lifting their sanctions against Turkey, like the United Kingdom, the Germany, Netherlands, and maybe the Canada are the examples of it. But certainly, the Ukraine war is a vital reason for lifting it. But I don't believe that it's all about the Turkish drones, and it's all about the the Ukrainian war. Because what will happen if the war ends? I mean, the S-400s are still deployed in Turkey, and the main reason it was all about the S-400s. But to lift the sanctions and the cuts, I think the U.S. and its allies, they're going to put some other cards on the table, like a guarantee from Turkey not to make S-400s operational. So briefly, I don't think that the lifting the sanctions are all about the survival of the Ukraine, but it's all about, as I told you, it's about the importance of geopolitical and geostrategic position of Turkey.
Yes.
So I think that it's the U.S. administration also understand that Turkey, under the current crisis, it is a complementary of the European security architecture. So therefore, maintaining these sanctions is not realistic anymore. Maybe I can say that.
So, David, how would a prolonged fighting in Ukraine affect Turkey's rapidly growing drone industry, since both countries have agreed to co-produce these weapons? And how has this conflict already impacted the future of these plans, since Turkish drones are reliant on Ukrainian engines?
I think if I was cynical about it, I would say that this war has been extremely good for business. I mean, the fact is that combat-proven systems, ones which have been effective on the battlefield, are obviously going to attract a lot of attention from other buyers. And it has been spectacularly successful. It has become, as you say, a symbol of the resistance. And I suspect that that reputation is only going to grow as the conflict increases. So I think this is going to get a lot more people interested in buying Turkish drones. And it's going to increase Turkey's leverage in terms of being a drone superpower, and with that ability to supply people with game-changing technology.
So, Merve, moving forward, if Russia were to exercise the full extent of its powers in the outcome of the negotiations, could it seek to limit Ukrainian military cooperation with Turkey as to hinder this growing industry?
Yeah, it can be on the, I mean, it can be another option that is, this is the reason that Turkey is always, how it approaches towards this Ukraine and Russia war. And it's all about this balancing of the power. But I mean, we shouldn't underestimate that Turkey is a NATO member. So it doesn't matter that how long it, cooperates with the Russia about this, military technology. Still, Turkey is a NATO member, and we shouldn't underestimate that Turkey's defense technology can help to integrate NATO's defense unity. So the Turkish military readiness is very high, and it is always it's also readiness level is very high for the response crisis. So this was very important. It's not about underestimating. I think what Turkey is expecting is that it's not the cooperation with the Russia, like deepening its cooperation, but it's more for the NATO to realize its role and significance with its defense technology and military capacity as well.
So according to figures, David, Ukraine received almost 30 times as much defense industry equipment from Turkiye in first quarter as it did last year. Could this trend continue during the crisis, or there will be some restraints?
My understanding is that there are no direct transfers of arms at present to Ukraine because Turkey is playing a peacekeeping role between Russia and Ukraine and is seeking not to be seen to directly favor one side. So I think in the immediate future, we're not going to see any direct arms transfers. In the longer run, it's very difficult to say. In fact, because this conflict has only been going on for 6 weeks, we are still in many ways very much at the opening stages. And I think we're going to see a lot of developments, both on the military and political fronts, before it's over.
All right, Merve and David, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.